Honestly, men learned the word self-sabotage and haven't shut the up since. Okay, you know how when you watch like a TV show or a movie or read a book or something and you spend the next like 45 minutes talking to yourself about it, like you're being interviewed on like Oprah while you're doing your skincare routine for the night? I mean, like, I don't do that, but I see a lot of TikToks about it, so I'm assuming a lot of Gen Zs do that. And I always aim to be relatable, so. Okay, so I wasn't, that's not true. I was about to say I wasn't planning on watching Malcolm and Marie, but I did see the trailer going around on Twitter like a few weeks ago, and I actually thought it looked kind of interesting. I don't know, I am a sucker for like those artsy kind of movies or whatever, but like, and it was all in black and white, and I was like, that's an interesting choice. I wonder if it like is gonna say anything about the film itself. It didn't. Um, but yeah, I didn't realize that the guy who directs Euphoria is the one who like wrote and directed it, Sam Levinson. So it's like that was a choice. Apparently Zendaya was getting real stir crazy from quarantine and lockdown, which is relatable. So she asked Sam Levinson to like write like some kind of work for her to like star in and stuff. And so apparently he wrote the movie with Zendaya and John David Washington in mind, which is really interesting because I really felt like, I mean, they did a great job, like they're both great actors. I just don't think they fit the roles very well. Not just, I know a lot of people were saying like, oh, there's like that weird age gap or whatever. And while I do think that Zendaya held her own very well, I just won't comment on that because I think it's just my personal biases as like seeing her grow up on Disney Channel that's like coming out. So, and I don't think that's fair. So I won't comment on that. I will say it really did to me look like it was like a grown ass man with a girl who's in her early 20s the whole time. And Zendaya's like actually the same age as me. So I think she just has a very young face. So, but yes, I am drinking iced coffee. Oh God, what time is it? At 10 o'clock at night. I guess I just self-sabotage. Anyway, yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like I watched the movie and I was like, I need to talk about this with someone. I can't stand the thought of this man getting to make something so fake deep and getting away with it, Not that he has. I've actually read like quite a few good reviews tearing this movie apart. Everything that didn't work about it, which was most of it in my opinion. So I'll link those below, my favorites, because if you're like me, which I'm sure you are, you love reading negative movie reviews. I love reading negative reviews in general. I know that makes me a hater, but like I said, like I know who I am and I'm not upset about it. Sometimes I'll just go onto like Goodreads or something and read like 1-star reviews for books I've never even read just because I don't know, I love reading it. All right, yeah, let me just get into like what I didn't like about the movie. So it starts off when Malcolm and Marie come home from the premiere of Malcolm's first movie, which is based on, oh, well, that's a point of argument in the movie, but it's about a girl named Imani who is a recovering drug addict, and in the film she overdoses near the end. And supposedly it takes a lot of inspiration from Marie, Zendaya's character, her life. And apparently at the end, when Malcolm was giving his acceptance speech, he forgot to thank Zendaya, Marie, which is like, listen, if I support a man through his filmmaking, if I give him my life story, all of my tragic backstory, all of my trauma to put into a movie, and he doesn't even thank me at the premiere, I don't know what I would do. Anyway, but yeah, so like that kicks off like a whole round of arguments throughout the whole night. All they do is argue. And again, it is all shot in black and white. I'm not sure why. Maybe like they couldn't get the lighting right or something. And again, they did say, you know, it's a panoramic. I'm sure they couldn't get like a whole lighting crew and stuff. So I mean, that's okay, I guess. But I do want to say that I don't know who needs to hear this, but just making your movie black and white doesn't make it deep. I also thought at the beginning he was kind of going for like I thought he was gonna do it on like one shot for some reason, because there was like a really long shot at the beginning, but it was like maybe he like gave up and he was like, oh, this is too hard. So, which I think would have given it maybe like a more interesting layer than just like the jump cuts, because again, the movie, it's all filmed on location, minimal crew, minimal actors. I mean, there's only 2 actors. And so if you really want to build up more of that claustrophobic feeling of being trapped in this house with these 2 people who hate each other, kind of, I think filming it all in one shot would have been, 1, an interesting artistic choice, and 2, it would have helped a lot with the storytelling, you know? Because as it stands, there's just not a lot that's like visually interesting with the filmmaking, I think. I mean, there are some interesting shots, and like, you know, you always see like the dual shot where like Zendaya's in one room, John David Washington's in the other room, whatever. But yeah, I don't know. And I also think, okay, I'll get more into this. And I have another thing about the filmmaking that could have possibly been improved upon, but I think it fits better with another point that I'll be making later on in the video about how direct everything is in the plot and the story. So yeah, we'll circle back to that. Next thing, the acting. Okay, so I've seen Zendaya in Euphoria. I've seen her in a lot of things. She's a good actress. John David Washington, I did not watch BlacKkKlansman because I'm not a fan of Adam Driver. I don't like seeing him on my screen. I'm so sorry. So I haven't even watched Marriage Story, actually, which is basically what this seems to be a fan fiction of. So, you know, but yeah, he's a very good actor. I can tell that much. But, and here's where the thing comes in about like, how apparently Sam Levinson wrote these roles specifically for these actors. I don't see it. Like, well, first of all, the dialogue is so cringy, and it's not like I don't get where he's coming from. It seems like that thing that you would write in like your high school creative writing class, and you're like, oh God, this is so deep. And then like your teacher reads it and it's like, yeah, that's really good, B plus. And you're like, yes. But I think it would work better as like a spoken word piece for your MFA at NYU, you know? I don't, like, the thing is, the reason why I'm like cringing, I was cringing so much at the dialogue throughout the movie is because I've literally written things like that where it's like a back and forth dialogue between 2 characters where one character is just a mouthpiece for you and the other character is basically just a prop for the mouthpiece to react to, because that's basically what Zendaya was for the entirety of this, right? It's like Sam Levinson saw Marriage Story and he was like, how can I make this about me and also make Adam Driver's character a self-insert that yells at a half-naked Zendaya for the entirety of the movie. By the way, there was this one part where she takes off her really like fancy dress and she's just wandering around in like a tank top and panties, and like, I don't know if this will get me demonetized, but her nipples were so sharp and hard the whole time. Did they like rub ice cubes? I don't know. I just thought I should point it out because male directors love to, you know, they love nipples. Have y'all noticed that? They also love when the female lead goes to pee and like the audience can like see and hear her pee. Again, like I'm saying, it's very fake deep. Like, he really thought he did something. Anyway, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, the acting. Okay, so Zendaya, okay, so like her character is supposed to be kind of like repressed, muted at first at least, and more worldly than what I was getting from her. I don't know if it's like my internal bias is coming out, so you can let me know if you like think differently, because I'm open to like other interpretations of that. But it seemed like, I don't even think it's a question of like necessarily maturity, because I've seen a lot of younger actresses that can like communicate that kind of emotion and maturity and authenticity, I guess, very well on screen. But it was something about Zendaya, like the way she delivered like some of the lines about like where she comes from and like how hard of a life she's had, that I just didn't believe it. I don't know, because I'm really trying to think whether it's like actually a problem with Zendaya or if it's a problem with me. So yeah, I would love to see, love to know what y'all think. And then John David Washington, I can tell he's like a good actor. Like he was very passionate and stuff. But it was like, I feel like you could be the best actor in the world, but if you're given a shitty script, there's not much you can do with it, because he basically went on these long tangents, these like explosive like monologues about like whatever the fuck Sam Levinson is angry about that hour, I guess, because it was like film critics, the film industry, actors, whatever. Like, like, I don't care. Like, no one cares. Like, why are you getting so heated about this? I think the actors, I didn't believe that they were in love or in hate or in this love-hate thing. It wasn't like, I didn't feel it. I didn't feel the passion, you know? It was so like mechanical. Like, you know, Murray picks a fight, then John David Washington explodes in anger. But I'm just like, bro, calm down. And like, oh my God. You know what? Their relationship reminded me, this is really about to expose me, but listen, it was the beginning of quarantine. Did anyone else watch Love is Blind? Because if you did, do Malcolm and Marie not remind you of Giannina and Damien, I think his name was? Maybe I'll insert a clip to show you what I mean.
You know how you tell me this is the best sex of your life? Have you noticed that I don't return the compliment? It's great, but it's not mind-blowing.
I've never initiated with you. You've always initiated it with me.
That's the problem. Thank you so much. Why don't you seduce me?
It's because you connect and disconnect with me so bad that...
Do I give you butterflies, Damien?
Not right now.
I lost my butterflies, and I've been trying to get them back.
To show you what I mean, because those two were toxic, and toxic in a way where it seemed so exaggerated, and I'm sure a lot of it was for the camera, because Giannina really does seem like the type that would be like putting it on for the cameras. But like, I was watching As Told by Kenya's review on Love is Blind. I love her, by the way. But she said that they are a couple that don't know how to argue, right? Like, because every time they argue, they like really cut deep. And like, that's not how you like argue with people. You can't like bring stuff back up from like way back when, because that just means y'all don't like each other. And you've been holding on to that this whole time, and that's just like not healthy. And so I feel like that is like a very good way to describe Murray and Malcolm, which I think it's supposed to be like, is what a toxic relationship. Aren't y'all tired of having toxic relationships that are like this boring and bland? Like, can we have a fun toxic relationship, please? I know I sound crazy right now, but like, I don't know. I'm just like, okay, they're toxic. Do you want an Oscar? Like, what? You want like a screenplay award? I'm sorry. Like, no. Like, I won't stay too much on the acting, because I'm not like a professional. I've never acted in, no way, I have acted in something. It was 8th grade. I had a couple lines in the school production of Hamlet. Guess who I was? I'm not gonna tell you, so you're really just gonna have to guess. Okay, next. I think this is my biggest pet peeve with the movie, and it's how direct everything was. It's like nothing was subtext. It was just all text, right? Like, you're trying to communicate a story to us. Why don't you have some nuance and subtlety to it? Like, everything that Sam Levinson wants to communicate to you, he will tell you. He will not be using visual metaphors. He will not be using hints. It's all just going to be laid out directly like it is, just for you to see. Like, I'll even use an example from the movie. Okay, so they come back, they start arguing. Murray makes Malcolm a bowl of mac and cheese. She sets it out on the table, and then she goes to, I don't know what she goes to do actually. She goes to change presumably. But then she comes back a few minutes later and she hasn't changed at all. So I'm like, did she just go and wait in the other room until she was like ready to come out for her next scene? So she sets the macaroni and cheese on the table. She storms out to another room. Malcolm sits down and starts scarfing down the bowl of mac and cheese like he's like an 8-year-old that just got told he can't use slurs on an Xbox. The whole time Malcolm is like scarfing down the mac and cheese, and he's also like talking shit about Marie and being like, my character wasn't based on you, I don't like you, you're stupid, you're crazy, you're unstable, blah blah blah. And it's like, that moment is enough to communicate to the audience that like, what the fuck, you know, like Malcolm is such a dick that he can't even pause in his scarfing down of mac and cheese for like 2 minutes to like actually have a conversation with Marie about this like an adult. He really is just like so immature and so like in his own head that he won't even give her like the respect of pausing in his like dinner, his makeshift dinner of mac and cheese, to like hash this out with her. He's gonna be yelling at her from across the house with a mouthful of mac and cheese. And like that is communicated to the audience in that scene. And then Marie storms out of the room she was just hiding in and she tells the audience exactly that. Like she screams at him and is like, wow, so you're really gonna sit there and eat mac and cheese while you scream at me from across the house? You're so good at compartmentalizing that you're gonna do that? Like you're not even gonna pause in eating your mac and cheese that I made for you and you're gonna go get seconds? And like, I think that just like encapsulates like the issue I had with most of the movie, which is literally there's nothing left to the imagination. There's nothing left for you as the audience member to like scrutinize, analyze. Everything is just told to you. It's like Sam Levinson doesn't think that you're either smart enough to like understand it otherwise, or he doesn't understand what subtext is. Which I mean, like, I wouldn't put it past him. I feel like a lot of Netflix shows and movies have this problem, but the music that is used in the movie as like part of the soundtrack is so direct. Like it literally just tells you everything that's going on. Like if they're fighting, it'll be like, oh my God, I want to love you. My friends tell me that I should leave you, but I won't because I love you. And it's just like, it's so on the nose. And it's like, can you please leave something to the imagination? Like, oh God. And so my next thing is, because everything is told to the audience so directly, and like there's really no room for dissection or discussion of any part of the movie. I think a way to like kind of improve upon the problem of how direct both the dialogue and the song choices are in like communicating what like the message of the movie, I think a way to combat that would be possibly to one, stick with like the whole black and white thing and just show silhouettes of Malcolm and Marie the whole time, because as it stands they already don't feel like fully fleshed out characters. They kind of feel like two action figures that Sam Levinson is like smashing together to like communicate his grief with the film industry and film critics. Well, actually more like one action figure and then literally just a prop that the action figure is talking to, because Zendaya is nothing more than a prop in this movie. Again, they already don't feel like actual people. I think that maybe if, you know, you lean into the black and white thing and you only see silhouettes of Malcolm and Marie the whole time, that way you get less visual information communicated from the actors' faces, and you have to just kind of extrapolate that from the dialogue, from the intonations of their voice, from their movements, you know? And then if that's like too difficult, then maybe just never have their faces showing in frame. Like they're talking, there's close-ups of maybe like Zendaya's foot like tapping on the floor to show that she's like irritated, or like, you know, you see her hands as she's like preparing the mac and cheese for Malcolm, but you never actually see their faces, and the audience is cut off from that layer of visual storytelling, right? And so, because like as it stands, the audience is literally just given the entire story, everything that Sam Levinson is trying to communicate on a platter. And that just makes for like a very boring movie experience. Like, especially for like an artsy movie like he was trying to go for here, people like to think, or at least act like they're thinking, you know? People like to think of themselves as smart. So it's like, if you're just gonna hand the audience everything, what's the point? Like, get a journal, bro. Like, if you just wanted to vent your feelings, like, invest in a diary, but like, don't drag this huge movie budget that could have gone to someone better for this. Like, there's a lot of jabs that he communicates through his avatar of John David Washington throughout the film, of being like, well, you know, like, they're always gonna bring my identity into this as like a black filmmaker. Sometimes things don't have a deeper meaning. Sometimes art is just art, blah, blah, blah. And like, ignoring like what a gross misunderstanding that is of what art and the medium of filmmaking is. It's also weird that this came from like a white writer and a white director. And so like, is he trying to like circumvent like the criticism that he would inevitably receive for having two black actors used as his props for his feelings about film and criticism? I think the movie could have benefited a lot from like switching the visual form of storytelling to silhouettes of the actors, or just never showing their faces, because again, it all already feels very disconnected from the actors themselves anyway. And I think this would just like kind of lean into that, you know? And again, it's not like a drastic change. The only thing that would be changing is like the angles of film, the angles of the camera and stuff. So it's still very much doable for like a skeleton crew on set. And that gets back into the problem that this script was supposedly written specifically for Zendaya and John David Washington. So when you have such big names attached to the script, of course you're not going to hide their faces, right? Like, you need that star power, because let's be real, would anybody have watched this if Zendaya and John David Washington weren't in it? And I'll even be more specific to myself. Would I have watched it if Zendaya wasn't in it? Probably not. I'm gonna be honest, probably not. And I'm sure Sam Levinson knew that too. I'm sure he knew that nobody wanted to watch his wannabe Marriage Story, wannabe Waiting for Godot, wannabe Autumn Sonata ass movie, because he knows that he's not an auteur. He's just a hack that Netflix hired because he got HBO money from Euphoria. That was mean. But it's not like he's gonna watch this video, so it's fine. That's the benefits of being a small channel. I can say whatever the fuck I want and like no consequences. Yeah, anyway, did y'all watch Malcolm and Marie? Let me know if you did, and if you liked it, if you didn't like it. I mean, if you liked it, I would be pretty interested to know what you have to say, because I know that there are benefits of the movie, but I just watched it like literally a few hours ago, so I can't really see a lot of them now. So yeah, let me know what you think. Also, I made a Patreon because sometimes I have video ideas that I don't want to put on my actual channel, but I still want to make them. So yeah, and also I love money. So if you also like me having money and would like to give me money, I'll link my Patreon in the description, maybe in a pinned comment. I don't know. Like the video, please comment, subscribe. Oh, and the bell icon so that you get notified whenever I post a new video. Thanks.